If you're a heating air conditioning technician or even a salesperson, is the customer always right? And why does this matter? This is a super important question. I'm Scott Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. What you need to know is the client is not always right. And one of the things that sales is bad at, one of the things that service is bad at, one of the things that businesses are bad at is explaining that there's these things called boundaries. Boundaries in sales, boundaries in business is not something that's typically taught. What we're taught is take care of the problem, take care of the issue, get the person, buttoned up and get them on their way. And there is a small section of society that should not be doing business with you. And they use, I want better customer service to their advantage. I'm going to call, I'm going to complain, I'm going to leave reviews on social media, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do Y, until you get the chance to explain to them that anytime that you give me an if-then statement, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do that. Well, if you talk to an attorney, which I'm not an attorney, that's falls under the definition of an extortion. And I remember there was a couple of times where I dealt with some very upset people, and I worked with them. I didn't deal with them, I worked with them. I worked with some very upset people. And they said, well, if you don't do X, Y, Z, then I'm going to. And I said, okay, well, let me help you understand how the world of business works and what you just did. When you say if then, you are technically putting me into extortion, which is a violation of the law. And you might want to reconsider how we work from here, right? Like, we can make some changes, we can make some adjustments, we can do some things. So the reason I'm letting you know that the customer is not always right, the client is not always right, is there is a point where there's somebody who's going to be unhappy no matter what you do. You will never, ever solve their problem, right? It's an internal issue with them. It's a power play with them. They do XYZ things, 1, 2, 3 things, so that they can constantly stay in control. And there is a small subset of the population that they go somewhere, they buy something knowing that they are never, ever going to pay for it. They're never, ever going to do what needs to be done. But what they will do is complain forever to work the system, to get you upset, to cause problems. And if you're a business owner, there's a way to deal with this. You can gift it to them in a 1099 fashion where you say, great, here's what I'm going to do. You know what? You don't want to pay me? Give me your social security number there. Why am I going to do that? Well, because here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to 1099 this thing, and it may bump them into an X tax bracket. It may cause them to have to pay more taxes. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. It's one of those things that you could take a look at doing. And this is why you should subscribe. I got stuck on that. Why you should subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. Wow, I couldn't get should out. That was like, I felt like Porky Pig there for a second. You got to know that at the end of the day, not everybody's meant to be your client, and people who are super difficult in the problem and cause a whole bunch of issues really need to let go. I want to say 10 years ago, there was a major cell phone carrier, and it was all over the news that this major cell phone carrier fired 3,000 customers. And, people were like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. And 3,000 people got fired from XYZ phone company, until the facts came out that these 3,000 people accounted for like 20 or 30% of the phone call volume for 1 million clients. There was no making them happy. It was just, they just called the 800 number to complain. That person, that dude, that chick really belongs going with your competition. I'm going to use that term roughly. And so they're like, hey, Scott, why did you shoot a 5-minute video on saying that the client's not always right? Well, here's the thing. There sometimes becomes a point in our lives where we accept roles and responsibilities and belief systems that really don't help us or serve our clients. At the end of the day, you need to know how to build boundaries and say, look, I'm sorry, we don't do that. I'm sorry, I've done everything I can to help you to this point. Here's what I'm willing to do to make it better. I'm just going to refund you all of your money. Look, here's what I'm going to do to get you to the next level. And then you got to figure out how you're going to have this conversation very politely, right? Because emotions get animated, and you're sort of turning into the Incredible Hulk, right? I've done this, but realize that There are people who have legitimate concerns, legitimate complaints, legitimate issues. Do everything you can to help them solve their problem. And for some of them, you may get to the point where there's nothing you can do because they are unrealistic. And at that point, you got to figure out what needs to happen. Now, on the other hand, on this hand, there's people who really should never do business with you. And you can help them with whatever problem they have. And you can do everything you can to alleviate the issue, take really good notes. And at the end of the day, blacklist them from your company, from your organization. I have a few people in my life that I've had to blacklist from things that I do because there's no way for me to solve what they have going on. They have business problems, they have sales problems. I can solve those. It's the internal mental issues that they have that don't allow me to fix what needs to be done. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way that life is. It happens that way sometimes. It's not a me issue, it's a them issue. And when you walk away from either A, solving a problem, you really got to determine, was it really, did we cause these problems? Because sometimes you do, right? Just don't do it again. Is it a them issue? And if it's a them issue, it's frustrating because you put in time, energy, effort, risk, money, reputation. It's frustrating, but you got to walk away and go like I've showed you before. I've got a napkin here, but I take a piece of paper and I write all the problems and I crumple it up and then I throw it away and I'm like, time for me to move on. It's dealt with. It's done. As they say in Hawaii, all pow, right? So not everybody is meant to be your client. Not everybody is meant to be a person to do business with you. And sometimes you just got to move on. You got one of three things to do from here. One of three. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. Hit follow or share with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.